Okay, we will now inject our new entities class as a service. So first of all, open up the entities class that we got right here. And we don't need to have those lists here static anymore, because a service in ASP.NET Core is an instance of an object. So static is exactly the opposite, right? For static, you don't need an instance. But however, the dependency injection in ASP.NET Core is working with instances. So once the application is started, for example, there are a couple of different ways, but an instance of entities will get created, right, and shared across all controllers. For example, everyone who's referencing it at all. This is why our fields that we have right here, our lists, should not be static anymore, because we will use entities here as a service, which is an instance. So let's get rid of static. Don't need it anymore. This is the first step. Now that purple underline is coming because the application is running in the background, and it's telling me that I need to restart the application to let the changes take place. So once I shut down the application in the background, I just did that, it should take a second and everything should be working fine again. Great. Now you can see that he's complaining about random. That's because it has to be static. There you go. Now I totally forget that. Let's move on to our controllers now. So open up Flight Controller and Passenger Controller. Now both controllers, since you can see that they are complaining here because they're using entities, but entities no longer has static passengers, right? So we need an instance, and now it's the important point. The controllers will now take a private read-only entities object. And right now, to make things working, we will make it static, but just remove that in a second again when we come to that point. So static private read-only entities, let's call it entities, equals to new entities object. There we go. Let's copy that line of code here. You can see that we got that inside here. It will create a new entity, and for sure we're again able to use it, right? We will just add that dependency injection code in a second. We're just preparing stuff. However, the important thing to notice for you right now is that the passenger for sure needs access to our entities, and inside there is a list. So this is why we are creating here a static entities object, which will soon get replaced by an object or an instance from the dependency injection. We'll take care about it just in a second. Switch to the flight controller and exactly add the same stuff. So here we can go ahead and simply paste it in. We can also remove that random here. And also here we got that static private read-only entity. Awesome. So both controllers will create a new entity object. Important to know is that so far we haven't used the dependency injection at all. We're just creating a new static field of type entity so far. Awesome. So once we remove that static, we will also write that in lowercase. You can also go ahead and do it now. So write it now in lowercase if you like, instead of Pascal case, but that's up to you. However you define how you write a variable or field when it's static, right? Great. So now let me explain you what's our next step and how we can use dependency injection and what's happening in the background.